What happening today, we could hear more explosive testimony in a murdered baby trial. Richard McTier is accused of throwing that baby out of a car window onto the interstate. News Channel 8's Melissa Beckman is live this morning at the Hillsborough County Courthouse, where testimony is set to begin again in just a few hours. And Melissa, this case could be taking a major turn today. Some pretty explosive testimony yesterday.
Good morning, Rod. Now, the defense is trying to...
And we could learn today what caused a car to go smashing right through a Dunedin shopping center, injuring 3 people. Bungled and botched. Questions are circling this morning about the execution of an Arizona inmate. The process took nearly 2 hours. Joseph Wood's lawyers are calling it cruel and unusual punishment, and some journalists describe Wood's last moments as if he were a fish gulping for air. Wood was sentenced to death for the 1989 murders of his girlfriend and her father. The family of the victim says he got exactly what he deserved.
You don't know what excruciating is. What's excruciating is seeing your dad lying there in a pool of blood, seeing your sister lying there in a pool of blood. That's excruciating. This man deserved it.
The type of drugs used in Wood's lethal injection had never been used before. Puppy mill busted. Operations are stopped at a so-called puppy mill for English bulldogs in Jacksonville. Attorney General Pam Bondi claims that 5 suspects sold more than 700 of these dogs for about $1 million. Bondi says they'd lied about the health and the pedigree of those animals. A judge temporarily shut down that mill and then froze the business's assets while officials seek restitution for buyers. Apple users are complaining about getting messages dating back to 1969. News Channel 8's Adrian Pedersen is in studio this morning trying to figure out if these messages are really a scam. It kind of almost seems funny to say an email from 1969.
Yeah. Right, it just seems weird for sure. I mean, if you get an email from December 31st.
A Minnesota dad claims that he and his kids were kicked off of a flight over a tweet. Duff Watson was in Denver, headed to Minneapolis. He's an A-list passenger who gets priority boarding. However, the agent would not let his 6-year-old and 9-year-olds board with him, and he was upset about that, so he tweeted it. Shortly after getting to their seats, the family of 3 was asked to deplane.
And that her safety feels threatened at this point because of what I tweeted. There was no use of profanity, there were no threats made, there was, nothing other than, a terse exchange between a customer service agent and a customer.
Watson claims he was forced to delete the tweet. Southwest has since apologized and sent 3 $50 vouchers. That's not enough for Dad. He vows that he will never fly Southwest again. Cell phone video of an alleged shoplifting spree at a Walmart is now going viral.
Just ran this stuff out of Walmart right here, stole it. No, I didn't. He's taken off right.
Anthony Smith took that video, and he claims that a man ran out of an Oklahoma Walmart with a cart full of items that were not bagged. The man denies that he stole those items, throwing them into an SUV and then taking off. Police are now going over surveillance video from that Walmart to determine exactly what did happen. I will say this, if he did not steal those items, why is he throwing them in that car?
Why didn't he just show the receipt?
Right.
Here's my receipt to the guy that was doing the narrating.
You have got to stop with these voices.
Sorry.
It's 4:55. Thank you so much. Weather and traffic on the 8th is less than three minutes away.
Plus, coyote concerns. The reason some locals are not happy with experts' plans to stop predators from killing their cats. You're watching News Channel 8 today.
What's Brewing is brought to you by McDonald's. Start your morning with a wholesome breakfast at McDonald's.
There's a lot going on at WFLA.com this morning, so let's check out what's brewing. A puzzling restaurant break-in in Southwest Florida. Men in their underwear stealing the fixings for a cookout. Surveillance cameras at Doc's Beach House in Bonita Springs captured images of men walking around in their underwear. Yeah, the men stole a case of hamburgers and some red bell peppers. Okay. This pit bull and Chihuahua are melting hearts across the country. The 2 were found roaming in a Savannah neighborhood together. Joni the pit bull was protecting Chachi the Chihuahua, who was injured. The shelter hopes to find someone willing to take both of these dogs in. All right, take a look at this video near Argentina. It's pretty cool. It shows kayakers paddling near 2 southern right whales. Well, the kayakers got a little too close. One of the whales actually came up under the kayak and lifted it right up into the air. That's pretty cool, actually, as long as they're okay. For more on all of these stories, you can just head to What's Brewing section on WFLA.com. It is 5:18, time for weather and traffic on the 8th. It looks really cool. but it could go really wrong really fast.
I'm glad I could see video of it, and it's not happening to me.
Football season is almost here. In about 30 minutes, Bucs players will report for training camp, and today they will check in and start their player meetings. Practices start tomorrow out at One Buc Place. The first one is at 4:30. It is open to the fans. Admission for this is free. In fact, the first 4 practices will be open to the public. The Tony Dungy-Michael Sam controversy not over just yet. The former Bucs head coach did a lengthy interview on the Dan Patrick radio show to further explain himself. Dungy said earlier this week that he would not have drafted Michael Sam, the NFL's only and first openly gay player. Now, he was then blasted in an Indianapolis newspaper for those comments. The writer cited Dungy's religion and his view on gay marriage as a reason for the controversial statement. Dungy says, not so fast.
This was not a discussion about that. This was a discussion about a particular situation at a particular time and a particular player. And I think for people to take it into, well, this means he hates this group of people or he wouldn't do this. Those are the things I've been reading in the last day that really surprised me.
Sam himself already responded to this. He said he greatly respects Coach Dungy and everyone is entitled to their own opinion. 6:08, time for weather and traffic on the 8s. Let's check in now with Lee.
News Channel 8's Rod Carter is live with the group this morning en route to Washington, D.C. How's the trip been so far, Rod?
Hey, so far so good, Gail, to be honest with you, up until a point, and I'll explain that in just a second. I'm with one of several buses from the statewide NAACP on their way to Washington, D.C. to commemorate that march, and you can see the group is behind me here. The bus has stopped. We stopped to take a quick break for everybody to stretch their legs a bit, use the bathroom, all that good stuff, and to fix one crucial component on that bus, and that would be a belt for the air conditioning because it started to get a little warm, so we're kind of in a bit of a holding pattern right now. We've been in the trip for about 3 hours. We're in Baldwin, Florida right now.
We're near Emporia, Virginia, in a bus on Interstate 95, and we have been on this bus all day long. Had a few mechanical issues and problems with air conditioning earlier on, but we've been on the road for hours now and making our way towards D.C. You know, this trip has been a great trip for these folks.
Yolanda, good morning. You can see right over my right shoulder here the Washington Monument. We have a lot of folks here in the city in Washington, D.C. for this anniversary. Really kind of hard to tell how many people are here, but just to give you an idea of what we've been dealing with.
Each of the speakers who took to the podium just over my shoulder had 2 minutes to deliver remarks. However, Attorney General Eric Holder, who came out and gave remarks to a thunderous applause, spoke for several minutes and seemed to rally up this crowd. Martin Luther King III, Reverend Sharpton himself, as well as Representative John Lewis, the only living speaker to address the crowd at that original march, took to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, where 50 years ago this month,
I have a dream,
King delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech. And once the speech is concluded, it was time to actually march on Washington. Those who traveled to be here felt the weight of this moment.
It's needed, most of all. And what could you not be? How can you not? For all those that suffered and died for us to have the right to do this, like my mother, I'm marching for not just me, but my whole family who fought the civil rights struggle. So I love it.
Now, there were some stark differences in this march than those in 1963. Those who came here, women played a much greater role in the march this year. There were a lot of speeches that talked about judicial injustice and talked about the Voting Rights Act of 1965, some of the actions that the Supreme Court took with regard to that. But I can tell you that everyone here came away with a feeling of just a sense of camaraderie and togetherness after this whole thing. And they also probably came away really tired, Josh, because there was a lot, and I do mean a lot of walking involved, and it did get a little warm at times.
Sure did, but still.
I have a follow-up that's more than a decade in the making. 12 years ago, I got a call about a woman who was so heavy there wasn't an ambulance large enough to take her to the hospital. In fact, when paramedics got there, they had to transport her on this flatbed truck to the hospital. Katrina Rayford was almost 1,000 pounds. That moment was a tipping point in her life. After our initial calls for support came in for Katrina, and today I have an update on how she's doing. She's lost about half of her weight. She tweeted me last week to say hello, and I wanted to go out and just sit down and talk with her.
I felt like king of the world.
When we first met Katrina Rayford in 2002, she weighed 955 pounds. She was laughing. On the outside,
I don't think I'm supposed to be like this. I've made it through.
now 12 years later, Katrina is more than 500 pounds lighter and happier. But she remembers.
When you did the story on me in the hospital, I was 955. They weighed me on the bed because the bed had to go up to 1,000 pounds, and I was 955.
After our initial story, she went to a weight loss clinic in Ohio for several years. She continues to shed the weight through water aerobics and...
But it's just portion control, and I do a lot of protein and stuff like that, a lot of protein and stuff. So drinking a lot of water now.
And now the weight of trying to raise money to surgically remove excess skin.
You lose a lot of weight. A lot of it doesn't snap back.
And through the shedding of old emotional skin.
I'm still living for some reason, I promise you. God is not taking me yet.
She has a message for all of us.
Anything you want to do, you can do it.
Katrina is now working to raise $10,000 that she says she needs to have that excess skin removed. She's also working, period, something she couldn't do before because she was not able to leave her home or her bedroom back then. In fact, she hadn't left her bedroom in 5 years. One of the things she did tell me is that, family, she loves the family, but family would come over and just kind of have parties in the room with her because they knew she couldn't leave. And the only sunlight she ever got came from her bedroom window. So when she had to be cut out of her bedroom and then taken on the flatbed truck, she actually was just glad to be outside.
I can't believe that. And you say she inspires people at the gym today.
Yeah, when people at the gym, they come up to say good job to her. She walks with a cane, but she actually walks. And that's what she's happy about.
One
because she
step at a time.
Before.
Amazing story, Rod.
And good afternoon, everyone. And what a beautiful afternoon it is here for the 2014 Gasparilla Seminole Hard Rock Casino Gasparilla Fest Parade of Pirates. That's a mouthful, but it is so beautiful out here.
It is gorgeous. In fact, I'm Jennifer Lee. I am very happy to be here. Normally, I am down on the parade route as the pirate on the street. This year, Lee Span is filling those shoes. We're going to see her in a little while. Such a great time. And, man, did she deliver on the weather.
Oh, the weather is beautiful. It's a nice little breeze, but the sun is out. There are people lined up along Bayshore. It is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Rod Carter is in our phone center tonight with the volunteers from the American Diabetes Association who are taking calls and handing out great information.
They really are, Gail. Just call that toll-free number, 1-800-528-0808. You can get some life-saving information about diabetes, and you can find out how to take that very simple and easy diabetes test to see if you're at risk for type 2. It's a written test. A lot of people are confused thinking it's a physical test. It's actually a few questions you ask. Takes less than a minute. You can take it in English. You can take it in Spanish. We've put that on our website, too, WFLA.com, under links mentioned. Phone lines are open until 7 tonight, so if it's busy, just please keep trying. We are very fortunate to have with us tonight answering your questions Dr. Stephen Goldberg, who's the Senior Vice President and Chief Medical Officer of WellCare. Thanks so much for coming out tonight, just not to answer our questions, but actually answer the phones, too. We're getting a lot of good calls.
All right, thank you. It's Black History Month, and today we have a story about the famed Tuskegee Airmen. Everyone knows the history of the Tuskegee Airmen. We know they were a group of African-American pilots who fought in World War II. Formally, they formed the 332nd Fighter Group and the 477th Bombardment Group. They were the first African-American military aviators in the United States Armed Forces. Now, here's what you may not have known. 3 women helped usher them into existence. Eleanor Roosevelt, of course, was one of them, and another Florida educator, Mary McLeod Bethune, the founder of Bethune-Cookman University. Well, according to a local man with deep historical roots here in Tampa, the original intended home for the Tuskegee program was supposed to be Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, but he says white farmers there at the time would not sell the land for the aviation training fields.
If you can understand the times, which are not now, but you've got to understand the truth of the times in order to really appreciate where we are. And in 1940 and 1939, it was not to be associated with or sympathetic to or identified with black people in the South was literally political suicide.
Now, the gentleman you just heard from is also a relative of a local woman who made strides here in the Bay Area. And today we take a look at the name behind a popular high school in Hillsborough County. Armwood High School has been around for 30 years, and its namesake was born here in the 1800s, had a major impact on education in Hillsborough County. The name of the school is Armwood High, but many of the students here that roam the halls
may not even realize its namesake, Blanche Armwood, earned her teaching degree and started college at an age younger than they are right now.
Blanche was a very unusual person, typical Armwood woman.
Blanche Armwood's cousin, Bernadette Washington, is very proud of her family.
She finished from St. Peter Claver, and at the age of 12, she passed the teacher's exam. Since there was no black high school here in Tampa, she was sent to Spelman.
Blanche Armwood, who was born here in Tampa in 1890, was the youngest of 5 children. At age 12, she went to college at Spelman in Atlanta and graduated 4 years later. She eventually ended up back here in Tampa teaching domestic science.
She was hired to teach those classes, and she did such a good job at that. She developed several other schools doing that same thing in the nation, different places.
Armwood had a magnificent life that includes being the first supervisor of Negro schools for Hillsborough County and a number of other prestigious positions. But she wasn't done there.
She later on went to law school, believe it or not.
Blanche Armwood never got the opportunity to actually practice law, to use her law degree. She died about a year after getting it.
Her family says the legacy she leaves is an inspiration to all.
The most important thing to me and for a lot of us in the family is that there is nothing you cannot accomplish if you're willing to work for it. She didn't believe she couldn't do anything. She set her mind to it, and she put in the labor to get it done.
Blanche Armwood died in 1939. She was 49 years old. Armwood High School again turns 30 years old this year. For more information about Blanche Armwood's legacy, just log on to WFLA.com and click on links mentioned. In today's Black History Month report, I bet there are a lot of you out there at home right now who could quote lines from the iconic movie Gone with the Wind right off the top of your head, like, "As God is my witness, I will never go hungry again." Yeah, that's one of them. And then there's a famous line, "I don't know nothing about birthing no babies." Well, that line, uttered by actress Butterfly McQueen, made her a household name.
She made cinematic strides in the movie Gone with the Wind at a time in history when African Americans were not featured in mainstream movies. But perhaps the thing Butterfly McQueen is best known for, this line.
"I don't know nothing about birthing babies. I don't know. You told me you knew everything about it."
The name Butterfly was the nickname she got for her performance of the Butterfly Ballet in a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Later, she legally changed it to Butterfly. But she was actually born Thelma, and she was born right here in the Bay Area, in Tampa.
Butterfly McQueen, who played Prissy in Gone with the Wind, was born on January 7th, 1911, in a house behind the Beulah Baptist Church on Central Avenue.
Born in Tampa, McQueen actually traveled the world as an entertainer.
This video was from 1995. In the later part of her life, Butterfly McQueen lived in Augusta, Georgia. That's where 26 News is. When she was 84 years old in 1995, she died from burns sustained in a house fire. I worked in that market, was at work the day she died. I've had this video for nearly 20 years. It was a very sad time for her family. They were praying that she would pull through.
Before she died, she never forgot her roots here in the Bay Area, which kept her coming back home from time to time.
A number of years ago, she happened to be in Tampa and visited our Ybor City branch library, which is now the Robert Saunders Library. And our library director, Joe Steins, was working there and was able to meet her and talk to her.
Butterfly McQueen was 28 years old when she auditioned for that role of Prissy in Gone with the Wind, and I read somewhere that she actually did it because it paid $200 a week and she needed to buy furniture.